Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business News Afternoon Report for Friday, the 9th of February 2024. I'm Michael Thompson. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about, so let's jump into it. Story number 1, the S&P ASX 200 closed up just slightly today, climbing 0.07% to 7,645 points. Still, though, a gain's a gain, and that's 3 days in a row that the market has finished higher. Across the week, the bourse lost about 0.7%. The best performer today was Liontown Resources, up 10.4%. There are signs the lithium market might have bottomed out. Good news for the lithium explorers like Liontown. Next best was building materials group Boral. It lifted earnings guidance and its shares closed 8.3% higher. Cochlear was another standout. It had a good day yesterday when it upgraded its profit guidance and it kept climbing today, up another 5.9% to a record closing high. At the other end of the market, not a good day for uranium miners. A Canadian giant reported its results on the other side of the world. That affected uranium prices and the local miners took a tumble. Boss Energy was the worst of the top 200, down 12.7%. Next was Paladin Energy, same industry, down 7.4%. On to story number 2 now. Reserve Bank Governor Michelle Bullock appeared before Senate estimates today and she had plenty to say. Significantly, she reiterated that it's not essential that inflation reaches 2.5% before the central bank moves on interest rates. Instead, the bank needs to be very confident that inflation is going to fall into the 2 to 3% target band and stay there. As she put it, it's no good just to go in and then pop out again. The governor said the world economy had demonstrated great resilience and was doing better than expected a year ago, but a slowing China might be a problem for Australia. On interest rates, she said she hasn't ruled out another increase because inflation at the current rate of 4.1% isn't good enough, notwithstanding encouraging recent data. She also wants to encourage young girls in school to get into economics as a profession. Story number 3, BHP, Rio Tinto and BlueScope have joined an Australian-first collaboration aimed at fast-tracking the path to nearly carbon-free production by steelmakers relying on Australia's number one export, iron ore. Under the initiative, the 3 companies will develop a pilot plant that will prove production of molten iron from West Australian ores is feasible using renewable power in direct reduced iron process technology. Now, that's a mouthful. The project aims to head off the risk that iron ore from the Pilbara, which is lower grade than ores suitable for other more advanced green iron and steel technologies, become increasingly discounted or face declining demand as importers strive to meet net zero emissions targets. Several locations across Australia will be assessed for the proposed plant, including BlueScope's Port Kembla steel mill, where the company's announced on Friday. Pre-feasibility work should be completed by the year end, and the pilot plant, expected to cost hundreds of millions of dollars, could come into operation as early as 2027 if approved. Story number 4, a pretty remarkable story out of the United States. President Joe Biden will avoid criminal charges despite a prosecutor from Maryland finding that he willfully retained and disclosed sensitive government information as a private citizen. Special counsel Robert Hur was investigating whether Biden should be charged for taking classified documents when he left the vice presidency back in 2017. But while he'll avoid charges, the report is likely to be very damaging for the president's re-election campaign, especially with lines like this. The report said, "At trial, Mr. Biden would likely present himself to a jury as he did during our interview of him, as a sympathetic, well-meaning, elderly man with a poor memory." It feeds, of course, into concerns about 81-year-old Biden's age and his memory. The president responded at a press conference where he angrily rejected the report, saying things like, "My memory is fine, I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president, and I've put this country back on its feet. I don't need his recommendation." However, he also then went on to mix up the leaders of Egypt and Mexico in the same press conference. With the election coming up in November, we are going to be hearing an awful lot about this one. Finally, story number 5, the S&P 500 pushed through 5,000 points for the first time ever overnight before closing just beneath that mark. Investors are confident that interest rates in the world's biggest economy will fall later in the year, albeit not as soon as initially forecast. One highlight last night was Walt Disney. Its shares surged after reporting better than expected earnings for its fiscal first quarter and issuing an upbeat profit outlook for the year. Sportswear company Under Armour upped its full year earnings guidance, while Sportswear company Under Armour upped its full-year earnings guidance, while iconic motorbike group Harley-Davidson eked out a fourth quarter profit ahead of estimates. That's it for the afternoon report for Friday, the 9th of February 2024. Don't forget to hit follow on the podcast and find Fear and Greed on LinkedIn, Instagram, X and Facebook. Join us tomorrow morning for the weekend edition of the Fast Five by Fear and Greed. I'm Michael Thompson. Enjoy your evening.